And there are about 2 million tweets per day, and up to 300 tweets per second, and on special occasions. And it's in the contrast to the 4chan, it's ID-centric. So you have got identities in there, which, of course, are complex human beings. But when you step back and look at the Twitter, you will see a system that is not as complex as those constituents. So, and this is where the self-similarity is coming in. When you look at the Twitter network, you can put input in there and you will get some output. You can also go take a subset of people who are related in a topic or field. And so you will actually get clusters that are highly specialized. It's like in our brain, where we have clusters of nerve cells that are, well, used for speech or used for pattern recognition or these kinds of stuff. You will see the same patterns going on in such social networks. So there's one problem with Twitter. It's brutally complex in its network structure. This is a failed attempt. I tried just visualizing the followers in not just in depth 1, but in depth 2. That were 180,000 nodes in there, and this is the point where I broke the simulation off. That's 40,000 vertices have been drawn, and it's, well, let's say 5% complete. So it's very hard to get an actual idea of Twitter when you don't select the nodes for some kind of features, like only the nodes that are more than 200 followers or whatever. You take some value and cut those off. Now, if we're saying there's some collective conscious, some Borg in these networks, some as an emergence, and you're comfortable with saying that it might be not as complex as the people taking part in this, you should be able to see some very basic emotions going on. And let's look at some of them. I think I can make out. I mean, Borgs just want to have fun, definitely. And probably most of you have seen this. One day, one little neuron of the Twitter Borg network just had this idea of writing a song in code. And, well, it was quite an event, because it started out with a small group, about maybe 1 or 2 days, and then it spread like an infection over the whole network. And I think I know very little people in my Twitter surrounding that haven't actually taken part of it. So that's obviously there's no self-preservance going on, there's no fear, no whatever, they're just having fun. So this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but probably one that is a bit speaking for itself. There's been a loss in the community. Most of you might know him, or at least heard about him. It's a one-up. And there was one striking thing about this. I personally never met him, actually in person. So I just had some of my neighbors in this neural network saying, oh, somebody has passed away, and they were actually, they knew who it was, and they knew him personally, and they were just expressing condolence in a way I never could, because I didn't know him. But that actually made me sad, just because I knew other parts of the network were sad about what was going on, or what happened. It was some kind of contagion going on, and so large parts of the network, I mean, there have been several 10,000s of outputs of this network stating that there's condolence and they feel sorry, and it was quite a great thing going on there. I mean, it's like the whole network, or at least large parts of it, suddenly, well, wore black and were a bit depressed about what happened. okay, there's some sort of anger going on, definitely. If you're looking at the debates in politics and politics, you will see that the network can get very angry, the Borg can get very angry. It's mostly against politicians that are known to be conservative. And there will be lots of spite, there will be lots of anger going on, and you can actually see it. I'm a bit sorry I don't have the examples ready, but you might catch the drift. But the most important part about it is the fear part, I think. It's a very, very basic human emotion that we all take for granted. And what it usually boils down to in most cases is some sort of self-preservation, the fear of, well, not being existent anymore after something happens. And it's usually something about being in control of your environment, like shaping it in a way that's beneficial for you or at least doesn't harm you. And especially about the competitors which are in the neighborhood. So when you look at the Twitter Borg cluster, you will see that there are adjacent clusters going on, especially there's a politics cluster with governments and, or let's say a local government. And you could actually see those two fighting over, well, over the debate or over, okay, I'm missing the word here. So the censorship debate is actually about control. I mean, if politicians decide to implement a censoring system into the internet, it's like being able to flip a switch and, well, let's say Twitter is gone or whatever they want to be gone. It's great power that's been introduced there. And of course, you would expect a network or a collective like Twitter to agitate against it, of agitating against being controlled. And this is why there's this strong attitude towards information freedom and no censorship and all this going on, because it's like being controlled by an external collective. And this is a bit of my personal experience. What does it feel like being a Borg? I mean, most of you probably know what it's like, but I would express it like that, because when I'm actually following political debates, which I'm not really taking part in because I don't have the time, I will just look at my filter layer in the collective around me. And this filter layer, because I can actually choose where I link to, is pretty efficient in filtering the information that's really relevant. So I can get hours of political debates and still, I can miss hours of political debates and still get, let's say, the 50 most important talking points and who said what. And what's pretty amazing about it is that the constituents passing on the information to me might include more information from their memories or their ideas. So it's even enriched information that gets to me. And, well, I think it's never been before like that. I mean, the way we are connected to the internet and the other people there has just such information density going on that this is certainly a new quality. And so there's one thing being learned here. I mean, being Borg, I mean, we've seen Star Trek and all that. The Borg was all the voices at once in the head, but actually it's quite comfortable. You're just talking to your filter layer and, well, it passes on what it decides is important, and it passes to you what the filter layer thinks is important. So there's not this overload of having to see everything at once or so. But I think it's still an enhancement going on there with all those life experience that you can actually share with others. And now, since it's unprecedented in history, the speed with the information and all that, you have some very powerful features of the collectives that have been established. At first there's the collective intelligence. I mean, that basically means you